In 1935, a company advertised toilet paper as splinter-free, as if that was some kind of luxury breakthrough. Because before that, yeah, splinters just everywhere. But here's what's crazy. Toilet paper, it's only been normal for 90 years. For most of human history, people wiped with stones, corn cobs, sponges on sticks, and their hands. That soft roll in your bathroom, it represents one of the hardest products to sell in human history. A man went bankrupt trying to convince people to buy it because it was too embarrassing to even say the words toilet paper. So how did we go from Roman soldiers sharing one communal sponge for an entire fort to panic buying toilet paper during COVID? This is the story of the invention nobody wanted to talk about that everyone desperately needed. In ancient Rome, public toilets had communal sponges on sticks called tersoriums, one sponge, shared by everyone, rinsed in a bucket of vinegar and salt water between uses. And here's the worst part. There's a historical record of a gladiator who killed himself by shoving one of these down his throat in the toilet. He'd rather die than fight again. Meanwhile, in China, along the Silk Road, people used poop sticks, bamboo spatulas wrapped in cloth. Archaeologists found 2,000-year-old ones in latrines. They analyzed them. Want to know what they found? Ancient parasites, because people washed and reused them. In medieval Europe, peasants used leaves. Wealthy people used wool or lace. And French satirist François Rabelais claimed that the best thing to wipe with was a live gooseneck, holding the goose between your legs. He wrote a whole essay about it. Nobody knows if he was joking. But the goose thing? That was nothing compared to what Americans used. Colonial Americans, corn cobs. Dried corn cobs with the kernels removed. They were legendary. Later, they upgraded to the Sears catalog and the Old Farmer's Almanac. Companies literally printed their catalogs with holes in the corner so you could hang them in the outhouse. Imagine reading about women's dresses while using those same pages to... yeah, but at least it was free. In 1857, a New York entrepreneur named Joseph Gaiety had what he thought was a brilliant idea. The first commercial toilet paper in America. He created sheets of hemp paper soaked in aloe, medicated, soothing. He called it medicated paper for the water closet. And because he was so proud of his invention, he printed his name on every single sheet. Think about that. Your name on toilet paper forever. This was a mistake because in 1857 America, you couldn't even say the words toilet paper in polite company. Body functions were shameful, disgusting, something you never discussed. People would rather walk into a store and ask for anything else than ask for toilet paper by name. So Gaiety's product, it failed completely. Why would anyone pay 50 cents for 500 sheets when newspapers and catalogs were free? Plus, they'd have to embarrass themselves to buy it. Gaiety lost everything. His business, his savings, his dream. The man who tried to save America's butts went broke trying. Remember those corn cobs? They stayed popular for decades longer. Then, in 1890, two brothers named Clarence and Irvin Scott tried something different. Toilet paper on a roll. Perforated, convenient, revolutionary. But they learned from Gaiety's failure. They refused to put their name on it. Instead, they sold it to hotels and drugstores without any branding. The hotels could rebrand it as their product. Nobody had to ask for Scott toilet paper. They just asked for a roll. The secret? Make it invisible. But people still didn't want to buy it until something forced them to change. Indoor plumbing. At the end of the 1800s, more homes got sit-down flush toilets. And suddenly, those corn cobs and catalog pages, they clogged the pipes. Plumbers were begging people to stop flushing Sears catalogs. So by the 1920s, toilet paper finally became normal. But there was a problem nobody was talking about. The paper itself? It was dangerous. Early toilet paper was made using crude production methods. The paper wasn't processed well enough. Wood fragments, splinters, people were getting injured, painful injuries, some serious enough to need medical attention. Chinese manufacturers used rice straw. Americans used cheap wood pulp. Both created rough, almost sandpaper-like sheets with fragments of wood. Under magnification, early toilet paper looked like a battlefield, sharp edges everywhere, and nobody could complain. because how do you report a toilet paper injury without dying of embarrassment? The cultural taboo around bathroom stuff meant people suffered in silence. Doctors knew, plumbers knew, but nobody could advertise the problem. You couldn't put an ad in a magazine saying, "Our toilet paper won't injure you," because that would admit theirs did, until 1935. Northern Tissue did something revolutionary. They advertised toilet paper as splinter-free. Finally, someone said it out loud, and America collectively exhaled. Remember Gaiety printing his name on every sheet. At least his didn't have splinters. But even in 1935, the embarrassment wasn't over. In Germany, the Hackl paper company used the tagline, "Ask for a roll of Hackli and you won't have to say toilet paper." The brand name was less embarrassing than the product. But here's what's insane. While the West was having emotional breakdowns over toilet paper, the East was using water, and had been for thousands of years. Middle East, India, Asia, they just used water, cleaner, free, more hygienic, no trees killed, no splinters. So why didn't the West use water? Cultural identity. Using your hand to clean was considered primitive. Paper felt civilized, even though it was worse at cleaning. The West literally chose inferior hygiene because water cleaning felt foreign. Pride over practicality. The same culture that accepted splinters couldn't handle bidets. It wasn't until 1928 that Charmin did something genius. They stopped advertising toilet paper's purpose. Instead, they advertised softness. They gave it a feminine logo, made it about comfort instead of function. Suddenly, it wasn't embarrassing. It was aspirational. By the 1950s, soft toilet paper became standard. 2-ply, quilted, scented, with lotion. America went from "we can't talk about this" to "which brand is softest?" Now we have 47 varieties in every grocery store. And then COVID hit, and toilet paper became the one thing people panic bought first. Empty shelves worldwide. A product people were too embarrassed to buy in 1857 became the symbol of survival in 2020. We went from pretending it doesn't exist to hoarding it. Joseph Gaiety died in 1895. Bankrupt, forgotten. The man who invented commercial toilet paper in America never saw it succeed. His name printed on every sheet, lost to history. But that soft roll in your bathroom, it exists because of him. And the splinter-free guarantee, that took until your grandparents were alive to happen. From communal Roman sponges to splinter-filled wood pulp to soft quilted luxury, 90 years. That's all. The invention too embarrassing to sell.